It's strange how something that happens in a single night can unravel years of love, trust, and the version of yourself you thought you knew. I never imagined I could be that man, the one who cheats, lies, and destroys the heart of the woman who believed in him the most. But I was, and I did. Her name is Emily. For almost 4 years, she was the calm center of my world, steady, patient, the kind of woman who made ordinary days feel sacred. We met in college, in the middle of a spring storm. She had forgotten her umbrella, and I offered to walk her home. It was cliché, sure, but in that walk, something happened. She laughed through the rain like she didn't care that she was soaked to the skin. I fell for her right there, watching her eyes glimmer with joy as thunder cracked above us. For years, everything felt right. We built a life, a small apartment, weekend routines, lazy Sundays, spent making pancakes and sharing stories. She trusted me completely, and I thought I'd earned that, until I threw it away. It happened during a work trip. Just one of those meaningless corporate events where people drink too much and pretend to bond over deadlines. I had been drinking, and there was a coworker, Julia. She was bold, funny, flirtatious in a way that made me feel wanted in the moment. Emily and I had been arguing that week about something stupid. Bills, housework, the kind of small things that pile up until they feel too heavy. I told myself it was harmless, that I was just blowing off steam. But when Julia leaned in, I didn't pull away. That night was a blur of bad choices and worse justifications. I told myself it didn't mean anything, that it was just a mistake, a one-time lapse I could bury and forget. But lies have a way of rotting from the inside out, and I was rotting. Emily found out 2 months later. Not because I confessed, but because I slipped up. Julia sent a message, careless, casual, and Emily saw it. The look on her face when she confronted me is something I'll never forget. There was no screaming, no dramatic scene, just quiet disbelief, followed by a silence so deep it felt like the world had stopped breathing. When she walked out that night, taking only her phone and keys, I sat on the edge of our bed staring at the dent her body used to leave in the mattress. It hit me then, not just that I had lost her, but that I had destroyed the only version of myself I was proud of. For weeks after she left, I went through the motions. Work, sleep, eat, repeat. But nothing made sense. The apartment felt haunted. Her mug still sat on the counter. Her hair tie still looped around the bathroom faucet. I kept expecting her to come back, to yell at me, to cry, to do anything that would mean there was still a chance. But she didn't. I tried to move on, or at least pretend I could. I went out with friends, dated a bit, even laughed sometimes. But every moment felt hollow, because no one looked at me the way she did. No one knew the sound I made when I couldn't sleep, or the way I liked my coffee, just slightly too bitter. Months turned into nearly a year, and I realized something I should have known all along. I couldn't live without her. It wasn't about guilt anymore. It was love, the kind that aches in your bones, that humbles you. I needed her, not to fix me, but to remind me of who I used to be before I broke everything. So I called her. She didn't answer the first few times, or the fifth. I left messages, honest ones, not rehearsed apologies. I told her I missed her, that I understood if she hated me, but I had to see her. Finally, one night, she texted back, "We can talk tomorrow." I barely slept that night. My heart felt like it was trying to claw its way out of my chest. I kept thinking about what I'd say, how I'd explain that I wasn't the same man who betrayed her, that I'd do anything just to make her smile again. But when she opened the door the next evening, I realized words would never be enough. Her eyes, once so warm, were guarded now. Her smile, polite. She looked at me like I was a stranger, wearing the skin of someone she used to love. And for the first time, I truly understood the depth of what I'd done, because love, once broken, doesn't heal cleanly. It scars, and even if she let me back in, we'd both have to live with those scars. But I was willing to. For her. For us, that night. I told her everything. No excuses, no half-truths. I cried, something I hadn't done in years. She listened in silence, her face unreadable. And when I finally ran out of words, she just said softly, "I don't know if I can ever trust you again." I nodded, because she was right. But as I turned to leave, she said something else, something that shattered me in a different way. "I still love you. That's the problem." And that's how it began. Our second chance, built on the ruins of the first. I thought getting her back would fix everything. That once she said okay, once she came home again, we'd somehow return to the way things were before I destroyed it all. But love doesn't work like that. Not after betrayal. The first night she came back, I remember how careful we both were, like walking through a minefield, afraid to breathe too loud or say the wrong thing. I had cleaned the apartment that day, obsessively, as if bleach and air freshener could erase what I'd done. The sheets were new. The photos I'd taken down months ago were back on the walls. Her favorite mug sat by the coffee maker, waiting. When she walked in, her steps were hesitant. She stood by the doorway, her bag clutched against her chest. I could see how tense she was, how her eyes scanned the room, as if searching for ghosts. I wanted to hug her, but something in me froze. She looked at me, and for a moment, I saw everything: the love, the anger, the fear. "Hi," she said softly. That word hit me harder than any accusation ever could. We made small talk at first, pretending we were normal. She told me about her job. I told her about mine. But underneath every sentence was the same question neither of us could ask: "Can I trust you again?" At night, when we lay in bed, the silence was suffocating. She'd face away from me, her breathing uneven. I'd reach out sometimes, my fingers hovering just above her shoulder, but I couldn't bring myself to touch her. I didn't know if I had the right. There were moments that almost felt like before, her laughter at some dumb joke, the way she'd hum while making coffee. But they never lasted. I'd catch her looking at me when she thought I wasn't watching, that same look of distance, of calculation. I could tell she was replaying everything in her mind, dissecting every word I said for traces of lies. And she had every right to. I tried to be patient. I told myself this was the price of what I'd done, the endless proving, the swallowing of pride, the quiet endurance. But sometimes the guilt turned into something darker. I'd see her texting, and my chest would tighten. I'd hear her laugh on the phone and wonder who was on the other end. That's the cruel irony. Once you've betrayed someone, you start to see betrayal everywhere. We began to argue again, not about the cheating itself, but about small, stupid things. Dishes left in the sink, missed calls, tone of voice. It wasn't about any of that, of course. It was about everything we didn't say. One night, after another pointless fight, she sat on the couch, her face pale under the dim light. "I want to forgive you," she whispered, "but I can't forget." Something in me broke then. I dropped to my knees in front of her, my hands shaking. I know, and I don't expect you to. I just want to make it right." She looked at me with tears in her eyes, not the warm kind, but the kind that sting with exhaustion. "You can't make it right. You can only not make it worse." Those words have haunted me since. I still love her. Every morning I wake up and hope that maybe today will be different, that maybe she'll look at me the way she used to. But even in her smile, I can feel the hesitation, like she's balancing between love and resentment, and maybe she always will be. It started with little things, glances, sighs, silences, not the explosive kind of fighting that tears everything apart in one blow, but the slow, steady erosion of trust that eats at you from the inside. We were living together again, but it didn't feel like living. It felt like acting, like both of us had been cast in a play neither wanted to perform, repeating the same lines, smiling at the right moments, pretending we didn't see the cracks forming. Every morning, she'd make coffee for herself and none for me, a small thing, but somehow louder than words. Every evening, I'd sit next to her on the couch, scrolling through my phone, pretending not to notice she drifted further away even though she was only an arm's length from me. The distance between us wasn't measured in meters. It was measured in memories. Sometimes, I'd catch her scrolling through old photos, the ones from before I cheated. Her thumb would linger on a picture of us at the beach, her hair wind-blown, my arm around her waist. She'd stare at it for a long time, then quietly lock her phone. And every time she did, I'd feel that same rush of nausea, the reminder of what I'd ruined. The first time she asked about her, I froze. Did you love her? Her voice was quiet, calm, but that kind of calm that hides a storm. I shook my head. No, it didn't mean anything. She smiled, not out of relief, but disbelief. You don't throw everything away for nothing. That sentence stayed with me for days, because she was right. There was something in that other woman, not love, but an escape. I was running from my own fears, from routine, from the quiet weight of commitment. I convinced myself I was just lost, but the truth was uglier. I wanted to feel wanted, and in doing so, I destroyed the one person who ever truly wanted me. After that talk, the air between us grew colder. We still kissed sometimes, out of habit, maybe, but our kisses had no warmth. They were apologies disguised as affection. Then came the jealousy. She started going out more, with coworkers, with friends. I told myself I trusted her, but I didn't. I couldn't. Every unanswered text, every late night became a mirror reflecting my own betrayal back at me. One night she came home past midnight, the faint scent of perfume and wine following her. I was sitting in the kitchen, waiting. Had fun? I asked, trying to sound casual. She shrugged, kicked off her heels. Yeah, it was nice to feel normal. There was something in her tone that made my stomach drop. With who? I asked. She sighed. Don't start. And I did. Of course I did. I pushed and prodded, accused and doubted. The very things I had done myself, now thrown back in paranoia. At one point she snapped. Do you think I'm you? The room went silent. That sentence, that knife, cut deeper than anything I'd ever felt. Because it was true. I had taught her what mistrust looked like, what pain sounded like, and now, she was fluent in both. After that, we stopped talking for a few days. We shared space, but not words. I'd hear her crying in the shower sometimes, quietly, as if she didn't want to give me that power anymore. I wanted to hold her, to tell her it would be okay. But how do you comfort someone you broke? There were nights I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was our punishment, to people bound together by guilt, both too afraid to leave, to hurt to heal. And maybe that's what love becomes when it's poisoned, not a sanctuary, but a cage built from memory and regret. It's strange how you can share a bed with someone and still feel 1,000 miles apart. By the time autumn came, our apartment no longer felt like home. It was just a place filled with echoes, of laughter that used to exist, of promises we both knew were broken. Every corner carried a memory, and every memory felt heavier than the last. I'd wake up some mornings and just stare at her sleeping face. For a few moments, I could almost pretend nothing had happened, that she still looked at me the same way, that I hadn't shattered everything we built. But then she'd open her eyes, and I'd see it, that flicker of sadness that never truly left her. We were together, yet living in the aftermath. The arguments became part of our routine, small sparks that grew into fires we couldn't control. They never started about the real issue. It was always about dishes, about who forgot to call, about something one of us said in the wrong tone. But underneath, it was all about her, about what I'd done, about what she couldn't forget. One night it finally exploded. I came home late from work, not because I was avoiding her, but because I didn't know how to come home anymore. The air between us had become so thick with tension, it was hard to breathe. When I walked through the door, she was sitting on the couch, eyes red. My stomach sank. Where were you? She asked softly. At work, I said. You can call my boss if you don't believe me. She flinched at the sarcasm. You think this is funny? No, I sighed, dropping my bag. I just don't know what you want from me anymore. I want to stop feeling like an idiot for trusting you again. Her voice cracked. I wake up every day wondering if you're lying. I can't live like this. I sat across from her, exhausted, from guilt, from trying, from failing. I've done everything I can to prove I'm not that person anymore. She shook her head. You can't prove what's already gone. You can't rebuild trust when it died with love. The words hit me harder than I expected. I tried to speak, but my throat felt tight. Then she said something I'll never forget. I forgave you because I missed you, not because I stopped hurting. That's when I realized she wasn't healing. She was surviving. She was living next to the man who had broken her heart, pretending that pretending was enough. The silence that followed was unbearable. I wanted to scream, to hit something, to cry, to make her understand how much I hated myself. But instead, I just sat there, because I knew no words could fix this. Later that night, she slept in the other room. I heard her toss and turn, just like I did. And for the first time since I cheated, I wondered if staying together was crueler than breaking up. The next morning, she avoided me completely. She left for work early and didn't text all day. When she finally came home, she looked different, calm, almost empty. I need time, she said simply, not looking at me. Real time, away from you. It was like the floor dropped out beneath me. I wanted to beg, to promise, to plead, but I saw in her eyes that she'd already decided. When she walked out that night, I didn't chase her. I just sat there, staring at the door, realizing that sometimes love doesn't die in an instant. It bleeds out slowly, one silent evening at a time. The apartment felt unbearable without her. Too quiet, too big, too full of ghosts. I wandered from room to room like someone searching for a lost memory, touching the things she'd left behind. Her favorite mug, her sweater, the faint trace of her perfume on the pillow. And as I sat on the floor, surrounded by everything that reminded me of her, I finally understood. This was what I had earned. Love hadn't punished me. I had punished myself. Asterisk. It's been 6 months since she left. Some days, I still catch myself listening for the sound of her keys at the door, that familiar jingle that used to make my heart skip. But the silence that follows is deafening. I used to hate it. Now I live inside it. The apartment feels smaller, though it's just me now. Her absence takes up more space than her presence ever did. I've moved her things into boxes, but I can't bring myself to throw them away. They sit stacked in the corner of the bedroom, like unspoken words I'm not ready to say. I've stopped checking her social media. I don't want to know if she's happy, or dating, or healing. Maybe she is. Maybe she isn't. I don't deserve to know either way. In the beginning, I thought I could fix everything. That love was some kind of equation I could solve with enough effort, enough apologies, enough sleepless nights. But I learned that some things, once broken, stay that way. Love isn't math, it's a scar. I still remember the night she called me, out of nowhere. It was late. I was half asleep when my phone buzzed. Her name on the screen hit me like a shot of adrenaline. For a second, I thought maybe she wanted to come back. Maybe there was still hope. Hey, her voice said softly. I didn't mean to wake you. It's fine, I said, sitting up, my chest tight. Are you okay? Yeah? I just wanted to say thank you. For what? For letting me go. She whispered. There was a pause. Long, painful, like the air itself was holding its breath. I met someone, she continued. It's different. He's kind. He listens. I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore. I felt something inside me collapse, but I forced a smile she couldn't see. That's good. I managed. You deserve that. I hope you find peace too, she said. You're not a bad person. You just made a choice you couldn't undo. And just like that, she was gone again, this time for good. After I hung up, I sat there for hours, replaying every word. There was no anger in her voice, no pain, just acceptance, maybe even forgiveness. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else, because she had moved on, and I was still here, trapped in the moment I lost her. Now, when I walk along the coast near my apartment, the same kind of seaside where we first met, I feel the weight of what I destroyed. The waves crash against the shore, over and over, never learning, never changing. Maybe I'm the same. Sometimes I imagine seeing her again. Maybe in a grocery store, maybe in a crowd. I'd say something simple like, "You look well." She'd smile politely, and that would be it. To people who once shared everything. now reduced to strangers with history. But deep down, I know she always be the quiet ache behind every laugh, the ghost behind every I'm fine. And yet, I've learned something I never would have if I hadn't lost her. Love isn't about possession, it's about truth. And sometimes the truest thing you can do for someone is to set them free, even if it breaks you. So I go on. I wake up, I work, I breathe, I write down the things I never said, maybe hoping that one day I'll forgive myself the way she did. The last thing she told me still echoes in my head. You're not a bad person. You just made a choice you couldn't undo. And maybe that's life, not about fixing what's broken, but learning to live with the cracks. When people ask if I believe in love, I tell them yes, because even if it left me shattered, it was still the most real thing I ever felt.